Guys, how's it going? So look at me, I got dressed up for the occasion. Don't I look dapper? Actually, I just got in from work, so I still got the work shirt on. Anyway, the reason I'm making this video today is because a friend approached me not too long ago about doing a PC build for him, and I'm like, well, why not? Haven't done a PC build for a while, 2016 actually, so we'll get into that in a second. Before we get started, I hate asking this and I'm sorry, but please hit the like button. It does help with the algorithm, helps with the videos get out there. And if you like the content, bloody subscribe. It's bloody simple, bing, just like that. Anyway, why I'm coming to you, obviously we're talking about this PC build that I'm doing. Now this is probably one of the most ambitious builds I've done. I've done probably about 5 or 6 so far. And this one's a monster. I mean, just in parts alone, we're talking $4,000. Now, the last build I did was 2016, and this is basically the rig here. So let's take a closer look at that. Now in this, you'll see that sticks out first is the Zotac GTX 1080 Ti graphics card. And when I bought this graphics card, it was the #1 card on the market. And obviously it's being superseded now by the 2080 Ti and the 3090. Now the 3090, because of scalpers and the mining and all that, you're looking at like $3.5 grand for one of those bloody things. But anyway, that computer behind me has got a 4 gig processor. It's a 6700K. It's obviously from 2016, but it was, I think, the second or the third fastest back then. 64 gig of 3200 PCI RAM. And I think I've got about 4 terabytes in there. Like 4 solid state drives and a mechanical drive, like a 2 terabyte mechanical drive, something like that. But yeah, and I can't remember what the socket is. Yeah, LGA. I can't remember what it is. I know the new one I think is 1200, but I can't remember what that one is. I know, obviously I could look it up if I had to. But yeah, that's that rig. Now, 64 gig of RAM when I built that was pretty stout. So, all right, let's get to the new one. Do a little bit of a show and tell session real quick. I'm gonna talk about, look at this little bag, the Intel bag. I'm gonna leave this to last. That's what we're gonna talk about last. That's the flagship of this build, I reckon. So I've got a thermal take, 1000 watt power supply for it. It's RGB and it's all controllable and everything. So basically that's the power supply. All right guys, let's talk about this Trident Z RAM, okay? So we're not going with 8 gig, not 16, not 32, not 64, 128 gigabytes of RAM. 128 gigabytes of RAM, it's all RGB as well. And it is PCI 4000, so it's really good speed. I think the computer behind me is PCI 3200 or 3100. Anyway, way quicker. Now to put this into perspective, back my old computer from 97, this has got 256 more times RAM than that computer had. That's insane, isn't it? So let's break that down real quick. My first computer back in 97, I was like 3 years old. Yeah, don't tell anyone. 512 megabytes of RAM. Now here's the crazy thing about that. It wasn't even 1 gig. But I had twice as much, if not 4 times as much RAM as anyone I knew. I mean, everyone had about 256 max, some had 128, but 512, that was like a monster. So the other computer in Australia had 512 mega RAM. This is 128 gigabytes of RAM. So yeah, and the funny thing is, one of my colleagues I worked with had a computer. He was a lot older than me. He wasn't 3 years old at 97. He was like 40. Anyway, his first computer had 1 kilobyte of RAM. That's 1,000 bytes. 1 kilobyte. And then 1,000 kilobytes is 1 megabyte. And 1,000 megabytes is 1 gigabyte. And 1,000 gigabytes is 1 terabyte. You get the gist of it. Badass stuff that. What else have we got here? This is pretty boring, but let's talk about it. Just the CD writer, because I needed to be able to put the professional edition of Windows 10 for it. Look at this little puppy. This is a little tiny 2.5 inch, 2.5 terabyte hard drive. So we got that little baby for it. Now let's talk about the mechanical drive for it. This baby, Western Digital, 10 terabytes. Woo! Now some of you may or may not have heard of this, the M.2 SSD hard drives. Well, SSD, obviously solid state drive. Look at these. These are 1 terabyte RGBs. Okay. Oh, that's one thing I forgot to tell you. Sorry. These are all RGB as well. Pretty. It's going to be like Christmas tree in there. All right, back to this RGBs. Now these specifically go into the motherboard. The motherboard has 2 M.2 ports. One of them will run this at 30 gigabytes a second. So we'll run the OS on that, and it's going to be blistering fast. And then we'll run this in the other spare socket. It's on about 2500 or something like that. But those are those little puppies right there. All right, so that's 2 terabytes there. So far we've got 14 terabytes of storage for the man. So I think he's going to be pretty happy with that. Now let's talk about the chipset. Now this is the ASRock Steel Legends X299. Now this is the chipset that you need for that Intel processor that we're going to talk about in a minute. Now this has everything, has 7.2 basically Dolby Digital surround sound and all that stuff. Look at the back real quick. There you go. And underneath these things right here are basically the SSD hard drives are going to be lodged in there. So that's pretty much it. It's got everything we need for a workhorse. You know, I didn't even mention that, did I? This computer is going to be a workhorse. All right, so that's that. Now, let's talk about the GPU, because that thing does not have an onboard GPU. Now, that computer that I built back in '97, when I was 3 years old, the GPU on that thing was tiny. It was 1 inch by 4 inches. It was, I think it was the GDX2 maybe, or the GeForce 2, one or the other. It was $800, didn't even have a heatsink on it. That's how bloody small that thing was. Now look at this little baby. This is just a 1050 Ti. I think it's a 4 gig card, but that's gonna do the job. I mean, we're not building this for graphics. This little baby was only $100. Now, just real quick, these parts all up are $4,000, okay? The CPU is the most expensive. That CPU by itself is $1,100, but we'll touch on that in a minute. So that's the GPU. Now, that computer back in '97, you'll never believe what it cost to get that. Yep. $5,200 in 1997 when I was 3 years old. So anyway, yeah, whatever. Now let's talk about this real quick, okay? So that puppy back there underneath is a liquid cooled computer. Now I want to talk to you real quick about liquid cooling. Make sure you have a liquid cooling system that has deionized water, because if you don't and it springs a leak, it's gonna blow shit up, okay? And that's what happened in that thing. It sprung a leak and it blew shit up. I had to replace the power supply unit, the GPU, which is obviously graphics, because I used to have like a 940 in there, Ti or something like that, or a 980, I can't remember the number. And then the motherboard fried as well. So I had to replace all those parts, get it running again, and bang, she's been running smooth ever since. But when that sprung a leak, I had to put in an RMA for this Chinese company. They sent me a new cooling system. It took 3 months, but I got a whole new cooling system, had to rebuild it all and got it back running. So anyway, can you see this? This is going to be the liquid cooling system for this computer. It is a custom build, and if you have a look at this picture, basically that's the case with this system in it, okay? And yes, that is the case I'm going to be using. I'll show you that in a minute. It weighs 400 freaking pounds. But this is a sick system, okay? RGB, beautiful colored fans, radiator and everything. And it comes with the deionized water, because like I said, you need the deionized water. This, can you even see it? That's the case, all right? So it's an open case. It has a glass front panel, and then the rest of it's all open, okay? So that is gonna be beast. All right, guys, so the moment you've all been waiting for. Let's check out the CPU for this new build. All right, look at this awesome little Intel bag that it comes in. Now, let's pull it out. And there she is. Now, before we get into it, I hope we've had it up the right way. So the old system behind me, i7 6700K, it had a core speed of 4 gigahertz, and I think under turbo you could get it up to like 4.6 on OC, which OC obviously overclock, and 4 cores. Now, obviously, you know, had the old Pentiums with single core, then they had a dual core and the quad, now octo. This baby here is the i9-10980XE Extreme. This is 18 cores, 36 threads, 18 cores. That's crazy, isn't it? And I know there's other chips out there that are even higher than that now, but that's just mind-boggling. You know, we thought that a 4-core was cool, and then an octa-core, and blah blah blah. 18 cores, 36 threads. I think this has a base clock speed of 3 gigahertz, and you can boost it to 4.8 gigahertz, I believe. It's a beast, 18 core beast. Anyway, that's the i9, but I think that's pretty much it. So that was computer show and tell for the day, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, bloody hit that bloody like button, and if you like the content, bloody subscribe, alright? And remember, if you build a liquid cooled computer, make sure you use bloody deionized water so it doesn't bloody shit the bed when it leaks, alright? That's pretty much it, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. I will try and make some videos as I'm building this rig, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I did this all in one take, and I may do some link edit back and forward stuff, but I don't know, may cut some stuff out. Anyway guys, I appreciate you. Peace out.